It is my pleasure now to introduce you a friend. She lives in my area, and so we're new friends, but we're fast friends. She's just joined Dew, I don't know, right before
Last year.
before the retreat, but she has dived in to all that Dew has, and I'm really appreciative of that, Sheena. You've really made the rounds, and you're doing a lot for other people, and the relationships are starting to build, which is wonderful. Sheena is the owner of UpLevel Practice Solutions. She has used her clinical expertise and love of analytics to build a priority framework that equips others with the tools and support they need to add value, not only to their practices, but also to themselves. Her experience in leading teams to success is why she passionately believes that you can have an ethically profitable practice that is in alignment with your mission, core values, not just the ones on the website, the real ones, and patient care philosophy, all while bringing more joy into your work days. Her goal is to empower others to achieve the same level of success and professional development that she has. Please help me welcome Ms. Sheena Hinson. Thank you, Sheena, for being with us tonight.
Thank you for having me, all of you. Dews, I love it. I feel like I have found my home, and I can't believe I've been so close and so far away. Why did it take me so long? But here I am. Y'all are stuck with me. I described it as I was describing it today. I was talking to actually a patient, and I was like, it's remarkable. It's almost like a mixture of a sorority and a gang, but in all of the great ways. Like everyone is just there for each other and committed, and it's awesome. I love it. What I'm going to talk about is entrepreneurship and doing it your way. I've learned a lot of things from the School of Hard Knocks. I'm sure a lot of you all have as well. I always jokingly say that I have my PhD from there. And what I want to do is help you take some of the lessons that I learned the hard way and hopefully skip ahead a couple of levels. So that's what I hope to help you accomplish tonight, and genuinely just do it your way. I'm going to show you a little design here that I came up with. If you kind of take it in for a moment, can y'all still see that okay? This is my life in one little description, my journey as an entrepreneur. And if anybody has not been on this little roller coaster here, I want to talk to you because I need you as a mentor. It can be one of the most exhilarating things while also being one of the hardest things that you will ever do. But I can promise you that if you go for it, it's going to be hard. It is not easy, but it is absolutely worth it. I really feel so passionately that you can design what you want. You need to figure out like what that vision is, what you have in your head. And if you can't find it, build it. And just be confident in yourself and never give up, for sure. I know Sarah Connell at the Dew Retreat shared a beautiful quote, and I won't butcher it and share the whole thing, but it was essentially, don't play small. Whenever you go all in, you are winning for yourself, but then you're also inspiring others. So always go for it. So I'm going to go ahead, and what we're going to cover tonight are some different pillars of what I've used in my path to success, and what that is: clarity and direction, survival, and excellence. And what I'm going to help you just really hopefully engage your thinking on is, what are you doing and why are you doing it, so that we can really identify what our strengths are, what sets you apart, what gives you passion to really step out and go out on your own, and always stay true to that. That's one lesson that I've learned the hard way more than once. So always stay true to you, and don't ever just try to be a jack of all trades. Take your strengths and just build on them like crazy. I'm going to dig a lot deeper into that as we go on. I'm going to share some statistics here. These are statistics on entrepreneurs and small businesses, and 20% fail within the first year, 50% within 5 years, 70% within a decade. And what I hope to do in sharing the information that I brought together for this presentation, I don't want any of the dues to be in these percentages. And as long as we stick together, we can avoid that. So keep your chin up and eyes open. The answer's in the room. All right. So first of all, what you need to do is clarify. You need to clarify, all right, so as an entrepreneur, what is the problem that I'm solving? What is the thing that gives you so much joy that you are like, all right, I'm stepping out, I'm going to go for it. And then figure out like that specific problem you're solving. And you really want to define what you're doing to solve it. Because you want to make sure that you formalize the processes. Otherwise, you're going to be, all over the place. And then what I found in my experience, if I'm not really clear about what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, it's easy for me to go astray and then get distracted. I want you to also think about your target as far as what an ideal client looks like for you. And really, I encourage you in an exercise, even alone, really write that out. If I could build a picture of what my perfect opportunity or my perfect client or my perfect, setup would be, even if Allison had some wonderful opportunities, even more than what she's talked about this evening. But really make sure that like, what is it that I want? What is it that, I want to accomplish? And essentially use that to gauge anything that you make decision wise. Is this taking me closer to what I'm after, or is it pushing me further away? Because generally it's one or the other. And I also encourage you to describe what your success looks like. And again, you use that to anchor all of the decisions you make otherwise along the way. And then, everybody gives me a hard time because I love to talk about sparks of joy, but I really mean that. What motivates you? What keeps you going? What do you wake up in the morning excited about? And, you really want to meditate and be clear on that, because there are hard times. I showed that elevator image there. There are times where you're at the top of the roller coaster and there are times where you dip down. So you want to make sure that what you're doing is something that's going to sustain you and keep pulling you forward when you're in those down points. So always have that to anchor yourself, and define what you want your future to look like. You want to play it safe and make sure that you don't starve. Obviously, we have to fund the dreams, but don't wait until you've got perfection. You want to spell all of these things out for yourself, but don't try to have it perfect. And just, ask yourself why. Like, why is this problem not already being solved? Maybe it's just nobody else has envisioned it the way you have. Why has nobody made something more efficient? And if I firmly believe that if you see something in your area of expertise and you can visualize or dream up what a solution to that problem looks like, and you can't find it anywhere, I think that means that you should build it. So when you have those thoughts, like, don't just brush them away and say, oh, this is too big or this is impossible. Find somebody, talk it out, because that is how great things happen from those little ideas. So don't ever discount those things when you have them. And I'm going to go ahead. I know timing wise, we got a little off, so I'm going to skip forward a little bit. But the big thing here is just make sure that you've got your mission and that everything falls into line straight behind that. Now we're going to start talking about how to survive as an entrepreneur. And the first thing we're going to talk about, that is time. So what you want to make sure is that everything you're doing, you put a value on it, right? Because as entrepreneurs, we wear all the hats. We're the CEO, the secretary in many cases, the janitor, the scheduler, the kids need to be fed occasionally, and we should probably stay hydrated and eat and all that fun stuff. So you want to value your time. Now, when you're thinking of things in your business, what I've found, and I've even spoken with some fellow dues, a lot of times it's like, well, I don't want to hire. These are things that I'm just doing myself. And that's okay. That's what we have to do. That's just part of being an entrepreneur, but always value that. I know I spoke with one of the dudes and I asked her if I would share. I'm not sharing her name, but we were just talking through, I always like to know what causes chaos in people's days. I just enjoy trying to solve problems for people. And I said, what, as an entrepreneur, if I was like, I have a magic wand and I'm here for you, what are some things that you could use help with? And many people, it's admin support or marketing or branding, lead generation. So I was talking to her about, what are you doing right now as far as marketing? And she's like, well, I'm not really spending any money on it. I do everything myself, which I think that's great, right? Especially if you can do it efficiently. But what I asked her, I said, okay, well, are you putting a dollar value on that? And to summarize, I said, how many hours a week do you spend doing that? Because it's not free. We can never consider what we're doing on our own as free, right? So I said, how many hours? And so it was approximately, I think 4 to 6 hours a week. And I said, well, what's your professional fee? Like, what do you charge as, a coach, consultant, whatever your profession is? And, that's uncertainty that a lot of entrepreneurs have. And I said, well, let's just go with your hygiene rate. So doing the math at her hygiene rate was it was either 21 or $23,000 a year if you value the time that way. So I just want you, I'm not telling you that you should hire and outsource for everything, but you should always look at the true cost of it. Because, and I'm going to get a lot further into this in a little bit, if we can leverage our time by delegating, and that allows us to work on our business instead of in our business, and it's at all feasible, those are the times where you're like, okay, I need to figure out a different solution or a workaround. So never ever undervalue what you're doing. Also, I love to say delegate and elevate. Typically speaking, if you can delegate, you should delegate. I love to read books and gather data. And one thing I read recently, I don't recall the book it was, but they talked about to-do lists and having a not to-do list. And these are the things that you build out when you're determining like what your vision is, what you're trying to achieve. So whenever we look at the to-do list and the priority list and the not to do, we need to figure out whenever we're thinking of what the next task is this taking me closer to my goals? Is this going to help me, solve a problem or build my business or get me closer to my end result? Because if it's not, then that's probably something that either needs to go to the bottom of the priority or potentially delegate, or maybe say, all right, this one's going in the back of a notebook for later. So just always make sure you keep a clear picture of that. Your other thing that's really important, sorry, my screen is really small, so I was having trouble reading the fonts. You want to always make sure that when you're asked to do something, we are all helpers. We want to empower and uplift others, but we need to make sure that the things that we say yes to are things that are supportive and really respect what we're trying to do, right? There's a way that we can, decline opportunities in a respectful way. And if that's something that's not right for you, I guarantee that there's probably someone else, even on this webinar, that it's right for them. So don't look at it as letting someone down. Look at it as, hey, I might be giving someone else an opportunity that's them and their strengths. So I always encourage you to make sure you're doing that. The next thing is, sorry, my thing here. Is the thing changing? There we go. Preparation. What I want you to think about when you're preparing, like, what are the biggest challenges you face when it comes to preparing? Is it, your time? Is it just prioritizing? Or I don't know if there's anybody else ADHD in here, but I am all green on my Clifton strengths. I am strategy, input, futuristic, all these things. I am no purple, right? So some of my challenges in preparation, that's when I'm like, okay, Sheena, you're a lot more efficient. You're going to do a lot more with your time if you prepare and either organize better or prepare on, okay, if I do get to a point where I delegate, these are the tasks that I would want to do that. And then I want you to also, when you're preparing, think about, what am I up against here? Is it time? Is it, am I looking for opportunities? The big thing is I like to talk about, I like sparks, right? Whether it's a spark of joy or what have you. But what I want you to think about is if you think of a fire in a building, right? There are there's firefighting, right? And you could probably relate to this even if you're in a dental practice. We can fight fires as they arise, or we can strategically put the right sprinklers in place, right? So if we set up our systems in the right way, we can stay a lot more efficient and not have to fall on our face before we solve some problems. So always make sure that you're prepared and, make sure you've got the right marketing in place. Make sure you've got the right mindset. You've done your research. It takes so much more than talented. And we know that we've got some talented women in here. So always make sure that you've got that plan in order. The next thing, and this is a compliment to what Allison spoke about, it's people. Those are in many cases the most valuable assets that we have, whether it be our mentors, our clients, our colleagues, our teams, our employees, our families. People are the things that's what makes our world go round. Even if we've got all the time figured out and the preparation, if you don't have the right people in place, then things can really be a lot more difficult than they need to. So I always encourage you, seek out mentors. If you do not have a mentor, please reach out. If there's any way I can help you, and I'm sure that Allison and so many of the dues, we are here. That is what the answer is in the room. We talk about that all the time. And, good dues find good dues. So make sure that don't just keep your thoughts to yourself. Sometimes just having someone to body double with and just talk out loud, you can really sort some things out like that. So always make sure you have mentors. And they don't have to be in the same space. Some of the most valuable insight I've gotten have been totally unrelated things, but those are skills and just little pearls of wisdom that I've carried along with me just for years and years. And another thing too, make sure that as you build relationships, they are in line with what you're trying to accomplish. We all know you are who you surround yourself with. So surround yourself with people that are supportive of what you're trying to achieve. They're supportive of you working hard and sacrificing some of the fun things, because that's another part of being an entrepreneur. The reward is absolutely worth it, but it's a lot easier in that process if you're surrounded with people, not that are an echo chamber, but that challenge you in healthy ways and that encourage you. They tell you, all right, we're at the bottom of the roller coaster today. Come on, keep moving along. We're going back up tomorrow. Surround yourself with those people. And the next thing is really important to me. And this is why I am very passionate about what I do and, what everything I'm trying to build, partnerships. These can be one of the most pivotal things that you go through as an entrepreneur. It can be the best thing that you experience, and it can also be one of the heaviest. And, there are a lot of you that I've even spoken with that have been in situations that, weren't the best for us, but, you learn from it and you move on. But again, that's invaluable to have those mentors and just, bounce those ideas. Don't just hold it all in until you're too far in and it's hard to go back. And as far as my experience, I got into a situation like that where I partnered with someone because I felt like I needed someone to build my street cred because, I'm just a hygienist and, hygienists don't have business acumen, right? So I needed, a nice strong male to support me and, introduce me. And my gut told me I did it. And a lot of my mentors were like, what are you doing, Sheena? And yeah, I came to reality. Thankfully, I surrounded myself with the right people that helped me, kind of weigh out pros and cons. And I was able to avert a very difficult situation to get out of. And I do not want any of you to have to partner because you feel like you need credibility, or I don't want you to have to do the things that suck the life out of you just because you're an entrepreneur. And if we band together, we can do big things. I mean that with all of my heart. I know it sounds kind of cliche when I say those things, but there are things that we can achieve as a whole that we cannot achieve as a one-woman show or even a handful of women. So lean on one another. And look around, see like, okay, who can help me? Weigh your time and figure out like, okay, when can I hire? When does this make sense? Because I guarantee, this is a spoiler alert. There are people that can do things for you and they can do some things better than you. And even further, you can pay them to do it for you and they would be thrilled. So always make sure that, if you don't ask, you'll never know. And as I'm finding in this industry, there are a lot of people that feel the same way. We are a confident group of women, and it can be difficult to be vulnerable, but don't keep those barriers up too high. Always share, reach out, because I guarantee if you're struggling with something, someone else is. So I'm always here if there's anything I can help with, in your business or just running it by. You need a body double. I could always use one of those. So I'm here. But definitely whenever you're deciding, all right, is it time to hire, you know, leveraging someone else's talents is something that you should do without guilt, right? Just because one thing sucks the life out of you doesn't mean it does someone else, right? We all have our strengths, and that's the beauty of this. And if we can complement one another and partner, we can all have days that are a lot less stressful and a lot more joyful. That is for sure. One last thing before I move to the next slide. When you're looking to hire, back to the clarity, you want to make sure that you've really got a clear picture of how you'll pay someone. And we'll get further into the number side of things in just a moment, but how you'll hire someone, how you'll delegate. I talked about putting that list to the side and, also having your plan like, all right, if something doesn't work out, do I kind of have my strategy of how we can exit this gracefully, right? And then make sure that you've got your vision, your training. We can't hold someone accountable for something we've not trained them to a high standard on. So always make sure that you're weighing that. And that's even, as an entrepreneur in your business, in a practice, whatever we're experiencing. And that's very important because when we do that and we've got that accountability and there's a true way to measure success, then there is trust there. And that's when you can really empower people to help you build your business. Last thing here is your technology. And I know we're short on time. So as far as technology, let me go back one. Make sure that you're leveraging this to your benefit. I could talk for an hour on this, but I'm not. When it comes to technology that you're utilizing, if you're working in dental practices, you're pulling analytics. If you don't utilize those things, or that's something you're like, oh, I don't know the number side of things, reach out to someone who does. If you are having trouble calculating what your ROI is on a client's investment with you, or you making an investment, with a client, like utilize, like I've got a software that's beautiful. I'd be happy to help. Like there are always solutions. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Leverage these things, compliance technologies. There are, we learn, I think every coffee chat, we learn about a new technology. Ash is amazing. We learned about the AI voodoo as far as writing. So make sure you're leveraging that and using it to your benefit. And then when we talk about thriving, and then I'm going to wrap up and I'm going to zoom through this one just so that we have some time at the end. Make sure any money that you are spending in your business, you weigh it. Is it an expense or an investment? Because it is always one or the other. And when you're trying to determine which one, because we have a lot of opportunities when it comes to, professional development or, training programs or resources that we invest in, you've got to know, is this taking me closer to what I'm trying to achieve? Because if it's not, that's more of an expense. And we want to take, our capital that we do have and invest that into getting towards our long-term vision. As far as outsourcing, I talked a little bit about this earlier. Time is money. There are times when hiring is more of an investment than an expense. So make sure that you're really weighing that, because there is certainly a cost of wearing all the hats. Our time is one thing, we think of that as no value, but the reality of it is time is money. It costs us in money, in our creative abilities, in our growth. So make sure you do that. And as far as I know, some of you in the Do crew had asked, like, how do I know what to pay myself? And I'm not going to dig deep into the weeds of that, but always know whatever your business revenue is, that is not how much we're making, right? If our business, say we bring in $100,000, that doesn't mean that I'm making $100,000. If your business is not growing, it's failing. So always make sure that you're reinvesting in your business for that growth. And I've done, I would say a general benchmark is about 30% as far as what, entrepreneur would be appropriate to pay themselves. So that's a big thing. And again, your ROI. And I'll end on this slide with the quote, "To whom much is given, much is expected." As we do grow, let's help each other. Let's help our other dues and give back. If we can't give back, with mentorship, we can share resources, we can share ideas, little pearls of wisdom. So I encourage you, lean on one another. And then Do is all about collaboration, strategic partnerships. I built this little graphic here, and all I could think about were my do's, because, you can see my little woman at the bottom. It's like, oh gosh, I'm at the bottom of the roller coaster. What do I do? And if you look over, you see that woman, she's at the top of it. And my little puzzle pieces, those are our strengths, right? We build on each other's strengths, and that is the only way that we're going to climb. And it's a beautiful thing, the way it just compounds. So reach out, partner with one another. There are ways to do both formal and informal partnerships. I'm happy to help if you need help with one of those agreements. Don't just exist in your business. I want you to thrive and lean on us. We're here to help you. And thank you so much for joining Allison and I. You can do big things. Don't give up. Thank you so much.